What's going on YouTube? I hope you've all been keeping well, and we're back with tutorial content on the OG channel. Yes, it's been a bit of confusion because of me trying to start another YouTube for Serotonin Studio, but now the Brendan James music channel that has been going for a few years is now the Serotonin Studio channel, so just one channel with all the educational content that you love. And for those that are super keen, I've launched early access to Serotonin Studio as well. I've only got 9 spaces available with 35% discount before we go publicly live at the end of this week. So without further ado, we'll jump into the video. Full track breakdown of an unreleased track of mine. It's a banger, and hopefully I'll see 9 of you inside Serotonin Studio. So welcome back to another track breakdown, and as the title suggests, we're going to be breaking down my track That's Not Me, which will be out some point in 2025 on Serotonin Records. So the main thing we're going to look at within this track breakdown is how to incorporate vocals and large verses. Now, if you've listened to any of my tracks in the past, you'll know I'll often keep my vocals very minimalistic and very hooky, in a sense that it'd be just a short phrase, repeated and then manipulated throughout the track, whereas this track's very different. Within the breakdowns, I have full vocal verses, which are sort of 4 or 8 bar long. I don't think they're any longer than 8 bars, but what I will do is I'll play out the track so you can see what I mean about the verses, and then we can go from there. So let's play out this one here.
No, that's not me. Can't be a waste man, that's not me. Living at mum's, that's not me. Then when I come to that's not me. No, that's not me. In need of a hand out, that's not me. I'm not holding my hand out, that's not me. There's a kept it, no, that's not me. 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 Can't be a waste man, that's not me. Living at mum's, that's not me. Then when I come to that's not me. No, that's not me.
Yeah, absolutely love the vibe of this one. I feel like it's a nice combination between an edit but original beat, having that garage influence that I like, but also keeping it quite minimal and dark at the same time. So we'll run through the beat first, and then we'll look at how to manipulate vocals, how to time stretch them, and get sort of larger sections of vocals in more minimal music. So starting with the kick, we are rocking with the Chris Stussy Kick 03. Could have probably guessed it, one of my favourite kicks of all times. And I've layered this with a click which is hardly audible, to be honest. That could probably be removed. All together, it sounds like that. And I'm just sort of gluing them together with the UAD LA2A grey compressor. One of my favourite compressors to use. Naturally has like a slower release and like a nice smooth compression, so it works quite well on kicks, low end synths and vocals. We do have a little bit of a kick pattern going on in the groove of the kick, but nothing out of the ordinary there. The bass is where we get a lot of interest. You can see there's nearly 4 layers here. So we'll start with the main one. So this is a preset from Serum. It's a drum and bass preset, but it sounds great as a bass line called Hollow Organ. Got it off Splice. But yeah, it has a really nice kind of warmth to it, but also a lot of sub there as well. Bit of processing with the Infinity bass, which is like an exciter for the low end. Really nice bass, very, very simple. And then we have a 16th rolling layered. So this is something I first came up with in this track. The idea of having like a really quick repetitive 16th bass rolling underneath a more sustained kind of like Reese bass that we've got on this track above. So you can hear the 16th is playing the same notes, but there's just more notes of them. They're just sort of bouncing in between. And it helps give this like quicker pace to the low end, especially when adding in the kick. So very short little, almost like percussive stabs in the low end. And obviously it's a really nice layer that you can automate as well. So that is another preset, I believe, with sub boom this time, not serum. And I put tape chorus on it because it's got no low end in. I can push that nice and wide. And I've also put the analog phaser on it, so that's what's giving it that kind of movement in the mix. Then we have top 1, which really should be called top 2, but hey. This is almost like a little synth layer. This was half strategic, half luck, to be honest. So I knew I wanted a more top frequency layer to sort of cut through. But the way the melody's playing is because some of the notes are naturally overlapping. So it's actually only playing the notes which aren't overlapping because of the nature of the preset. That was pure luck, and it just came out like really nice and very catchy as well. But because it's all stemming from that original main bass, that's why everything works so tight together, because it's all following the same melody and the same pattern. We then have top 2, which is something that we've looked at before on this channel, which is having a bass fully filtered out so it's not audible, and then just automating the cutoff whenever you feel necessary. You can really hear it there and in this section here too. Really adds some nice dynamics to that low end and just gives it that character and lift that sometimes is lacking within bass lines, especially any kind of bass line that's just dominant in more like sub frequencies and doesn't have that ability to open up and breathe. Going down to the drums, I guess we best have a look at presets first, because I know what you guys are like for presets. That one is module comment. It's up the top left corner. I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce it. Anyways, the other one is it's the Juno one. I wouldn't have thought that, but yeah, I like that preset. It's a really good one. The 16th, I did pull this up, so some of you may have got that, but that's the SH1, which is another staple in my collection of presets in Subboom. Rewind back to the drums. So keeping the drums very minimalistic, very typical 4 on the floor groove. Nice clap, nice and short, very clean as well. An extra little layer to sort of bounce off of it and add a bit of texture every now and again to the claps. I feel like that would need to be mixed to slightly better to be able to notice an audible difference. Little ghost claps, so that's acting as like a little snare, just sort of filling out a bit of groove. Sometimes it's nice to do this with a really sort of faint clap like I've done here compared to a snare. Sometimes snares can be a bit bright and cut through the mix too much, whether that's because they're naturally a bolder sound or if they've got like a more noticeable transient. We're just using clap, push it back in volume, maybe play with the attack a little bit. You can just hear it's just gentle. Sounds nice. Typical 808 hi-hat. layered with something a bit more noticeable to help pick up the energy. Another hi-hat, which just helps sort of elevate that energy with the highs. Little eighth with the flanger on it, I believe. Oh no, band pass, filter freak. It's just helping give it a bit of movement. It's quite a nice touch. That should say 16th instead of 8th, but that's just rolling away, doing its thing. That probably should be on. But hey, groove tap. So little stutters every now and again on the 16th, and even a little 32 one there. Just helps them to sound a bit more interesting. Got another hi-hat panned off to the left for some reason. Can't really hear it. Open hi-hat, still keeping with that theme of very clean and sort of crisp drums. Got an 808, which is very dominant in high frequency, so that helps pick up the energy. But I do have more of a 909 open hi-hat there, which is probably pitched up slightly, or just a sample which is naturally pitched up. Yeah, I haven't pitched it. So again, just helps sit in that more higher frequency spectrum with all the other hats to get that natural glue. One for drums. A few little top loops from IQs, Cerso ones, they're really good. And then a 606 cool kit, pretty standard stuff for myself. And a pan on this one, which is nice. Wouldn't usually do that, but it's nice, especially on those little hits. Just panning around the mix. You've probably seen PS22X on a few of these, so for those that haven't checked out my favourite plugin or the resources document, this is a stereo width plugin. It's probably one of the best stereo width plugins I've found. It's very clean in its module, and it doesn't seem to detune or sort of affect the sound too much. It does what it's meant to do at the end of the day. Going down to the perks, there's not too many stuff going on here, just a few odd loops and a few little MIDI chops. So we've got quite a static loop there, which then I've added different shifters to. Pushing it all higher in frequencies, helping it sit in the mix better. And just slightly modulating it, but it's not doing anything crazy. Some chops. Very simple little syncopated groove on the go there. Some more little glitch hits. Barely noticeable. And some more. Some more. This one's really cool. So this is a repeated 8th note little glitch or something I found. So just a typical kind of percussive click. We've got the effect track on it with Phase Mistress, just helping phase it slightly, but it's not doing anything crazy. A tape delay effect, which is that's what's adding that movement, or not really the movement, but giving it that sort of twang. It's just the delay so quick, it's almost delaying on itself. And then the LFO mapped to the milliseconds of the time, so it's just slightly moving it. And because of that, that's altering the pitch because we're slowing it down and then sort of speeding it up. Think about like a record, when you speed it up, the pitch goes quicker as well. When you slow it down, obviously does the opposite. And trusty kickstart on there as well. Don't really need to go what that does. Some more little glitchy bits. And then another loop just affected with shifter, that's shifter again, and some filter freak phase mister stuff. So really emphasizing this kind of modulated rolling feeling in this one, like nothing too abrupt is cutting through the whole perks, or even the drums for that matter. It's just kind of like nice ear candy just moving around. There's no sort of really harsh sounds cutting through. And that's because the track, I wanted that to happen, to really sort of just let the groove do the thing, let the bass have that room to breathe when I'm automating that, and when the vocal comes in, letting that sort of carry the track. So from there, our beat would have sounded like this, with the kick. And the bass. It's got like a really smooth, kind of swaggy groove to it. And I always knew I wanted to use that vocal, and the vocal's quite swaggy by nature, so I needed that beat to match up with it as well. So I think I neglected the textures, which is, there's a lot going on in here. Lots of different little loops stacked on top of each other, and then all being manipulated in different ways, I believe, not individually. Okay, so that one's got Tantrum, and then I'm running it through. There we go. K2 band, whatever crazy effects I've made here. Yeah, I probably just went like this. For those that aren't looking at me, I've closed my eyes, and I would have just started dragging weird glitch effects and hoping for the best. There's really no logic to this. I would have just been experimenting and seeing what a gated delay does, playing around with all of this. It's making a massive difference. That's the textures. All right. On. I don't know what it's doing, but it's working some kind of magic. Sounds great. It looks like I'm automating that in different sections, like as an actual send and return effect as well. So let's go down to the main part, the vocal. So the vocal is a re-sung version of JME's. I think it's JME's. That's Not Me.
No, that's not me. Can't be a waste man, that's not me. Living at mumsy's, that's not me. Then when I come to you, that's not me. No, that's not me. In need of a hand out, that's not me. I'm not holding my hand out, that's not me. There's a kept thing, no, that's not me.
So I actually had pretty much a full a cappella, so I could have really gone to town on this and just put in it loads, but I still wanted to keep it to my roots and fairly loopy. But when actually time stretching vocals and stuff like that, it's not an easy task. You can see what I've done. I've had to sort of get markers here and there. And what I like to do is pull the obvious ones in place first. So like this one here was slightly out, and that's clearly on the beat. So I would have just pulled that on, and then from there, that would have pulled the other ones slightly in place as well. I think it brings home a really good point as well about vocal warping and stuff like that. Is we have the ability as producers in the box to perfectly put every single transient the vocal perfectly in time with the beat. You think about how a vocal is actually recorded, like in an actual working, functioning studio, they're gonna be slightly out of time, even if the rapper or the singer is bang on to the millisecond. By the time it like transfers from the recording booth to the DAW, there's going to be some form of latency, no matter the highest spec equipment in the world. So having slight little bit of delay here on your vocals, it's gonna make, not a big difference, but it's just gonna make it seem a bit more organic. And that's exactly why I like just grabbing one transient of the vocal, pulling it to its obvious start marker, so that one being on the beat, and then that helps naturally put the other ones a bit more in place. Obviously, warping vocals, especially long vocals like this one, can be very time consuming. So what I like to do is just cut them piece by piece. So you can see I've cut that piece there, and then I've cut this one, warped that, doing the same thing, bringing the obvious bits in place, and then letting the other bits just fall in place a bit more with a natural sort of cadence. Doing the same there, chopping it bit by bit, and then I start working on the parts where it gets a bit more repetitive and I sort of loop it. When it comes to the processing of the vocal, I'm running with my standard tape delay effect, which is adding that modulation or sort of robotic feeling to it.
That's not me. That's not me.
Helps push it wider as well, which is always a nice effect. Little Walter Boy.
That's not me. That's not me.
Just taking just making it a little bit deeper and just fit in the track a little bit better. Some people would probably figure out the key or the scale or whatever of the original vocal. For me, most of my music is just sort of beats, maybe a little vocal and some synth work. So I can usually just tune the vocal with Little Walter Boy to make it sound in key or pleasant to the ear. I'm not too fussed musically. I'm not musically trained like that at all. Sidechain, RVox, which is one of my favorite vocal compressors. Dummy proof as well. You just pick a good preset and then just sort of dial it into taste. And then vocal manipulation, I've got little glitch chops down here. So I like doing these manually just so I have full control over these. I know some people say that's really time consuming, but just, you don't be lazy, just do it yourself. No plugin will give you this kind of control and freedom that a mouse and keyboard and your own thoughts will. Sounds a bit sus, but all layered underneath.
No, that's not me. Can't be a waste man, that's not me. Living at mum's, that's not me. Then when I come to you, that's not me.
And then just a nice filter sweep on the end there as it goes into the breakdown. Adding a resonance as well on the filter is such a unique sort of sound because it just, as it sweeps down the frequency, it's like adding that kind of like spike and just a bit of harshness to it. I think in the digital era, we all sort of rely on like cleanness in the mix and a bit of resonance, bit of harshness, a bit of shit. Just gives it a bit more of an organic feeling.
No, that's not me.
Then I have a glitch layer underneath, so same sort of processing. This, I am relying on different sort of glitch effects to just modulate it, because the main purpose of it is just to be sat in the background. It's acting as like a layer for this one. Whenever I'm doing this kind of stuff, I'm trying to emphasize the vocal kind of pushing away from the original vocal or trying to push through. So you have the glitch layer and the original layer, and then that glitch layer is like trying to come through. But it never fully will, because it just takes over the mix too much then and ruins the actual originality of the vocal.
No, that's not me.
You just hear it, it's like trying to come through.
No, that's not me. No, that's not me. Can't be a waste man, that's not me. Living at mum's, that's not me.
And then other than that, I've got another little bit here and there which I've cut out of the acapella, a breath, a reverse reverb riser, and a little vox hit that just comes in every now and again just to switch up the vibe a little bit. Sound effects wise, quite a few little bits going on here. Typical white noises, bass hits or reverse hits, some more white noise, some unique garagey effects which I found, all coming from that Speed Garage pack that I keep on ranting on about. I really like that one because it sounded like the RMX effect. It's from Loop D, which is, I'm gonna say he's called Echo Boy. I definitely got that wrong, but he's had a release on Short Circuits and he makes sample packs, and they're alright. They're not bad. Dub delay kind of bits. Really nothing to kind of to rave about in this section here. And same thing with the bass hits or the synth group. Just because the vocal is the fundamental part of this track for stand apart, I didn't need any crazy synths, and the bass stuff that we had a look at are almost working like synths. So all I just needed was some little riser kind of stuff, that little drone. I love bass hits like that and stuff like that. So yeah, pretty simple on that front. And when we actually get to the automation and the arrangement, the kind of stuff, I wanted nice big breakdowns, but also nice big sections of the beat playing because the groove was so good. So I just wanted to let that do its thing. So you can see like this section here. Just nothing much really changes, just like a short little fill. And even in this fill, I let it play out. And then keep that rolling vibe and really retain that energy. I'm not doing any sort of dramatic, crazy fills in this one. Just because the groove's so good, and like I said, I wanted it to be that kind of like swaggy, kind of boppy track to really just fit with the vocal. When we get to the breakdowns, the main thing that's carrying the break is one, the vocal and the filtering, the manipulation with the glitches that we had a look at just a second ago, and this rising synth here. So I'm really playing around with the frequency. It's getting pretty intense towards the end. And that's pretty much the only thing that carries a breakdown. There is a few snare rolls going on, like sort of over here. This is a really nice touch, sort of using a core kit and just having the instruments in there, just doing little fills. Snare. You know, that's just all being done by some basic kind of effects really through center returns and all the core kit, because the core kit comes with tonality and filters and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, just all the good stuff. Bit of Endless Smile as well on the mix. Really good plugin just to help intensify and sort of push that tension out. And the only really unique part, I guess, about this break is this little fake drop. So I like push that intensity, and then what I would typically do in a fake drop is dip, then re-push, if that makes sense. But in this one, I've pushed, dropped, and still carry on kind of pushing that intensity in your face. So if I just play this section here, all pushing, and then still another push. You know, there's only like a split second, like half a bar, quarter a bar of release and tension, and then it's pushing again. Fake drops, all of that kind of stuff can be super useful and just like nice touches to make your track sound a bit more sexy and a bit more interesting, but only if done correctly. You always want to think about the perception of tension and energy and sort of what it's doing. The amount of times I see people sort of push all of that energy and then they just drop to a kick and the bass drop, and then they just add the drums back in slowly. It just doesn't slap. Just because you just push the intensity, you get that like kick and bass, and then you just add the drums elements in slowly. It's like you're not manipulating the energy enough. You're just slow incremental steps. You really want to sort of, especially with like harder hitting tracks, you really want to pay attention to almost just like punch people with intensity and energy in different sections. Still need cooling periods or like dancing periods if you want to look at it like that, and that's exactly what these larger sections are. And then you can obviously manipulate and decide with the shorter fills and stuff like that if you want to punch people or sort of like let them just groove out. But anyway, that's enough of me doing sort of weird sitting silly dances and trying to explain tension and energy within music. I will catch you in another video. This track will be coming out on Serotonin at some point in the future, so it probably won't be below, and I expect it to be quite a big release, or fingers crossed anyways. But any questions, please just drop me a message and I will get back to you whenever I can. And I'll see you in the next video.